Hello guys, welcome to Minority Report Nigeria. I am Dozie.
And I'm Walter. And it's been a very long time since we were here.
I know. We've come to the end of a very long year with too many things happening, right?
Yes.
This is our last episode of the year, so we thought it would be wise to go over a lot of events that have taken place this year in order to get perspective, like you say.
Just like a rundown of all the, well, fundamental things that affected minorities this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they say, hindsight is 2020, as is every Nigerian political vision says Y2K. I don't know what they're going to come up with now that 2020 is almost upon us.
Yeah, yes. Right
So,
around the corner.
Without further ado, we'll start with Madam Ezekwesili.
Yes.
And it's one of those things that, a lot of things we are going to talk about today. Some of them are seismic and some of them are just, this is, So, Madam Ezekwesili, presidential aspirant, was at Chatham House a couple of weeks ago. And she was asked by some reporter, she was interrogated by some reporter in relation to some things statements she had made in the past about, LGBT and LGBT rights. And she said this very befuddling thing about equal opportunities, which when I saw was like, okay. And then, took a significantly, she reiterated her position. It was like it was significantly different because she said something about equal opportunities as opposed to equal rights. And when I heard that, my reaction was, what the fuck is that? Because to be clear, to access equal opportunities, that's the idea of equal opportunities for everybody is premised on everybody being equal, regardless of, sexual orientation, sex, creed, all of that. So how then, I wonder to the sort of mental gymnastics that have to take place in the person's mind for them to, get on the podium and say, you can have access to equal rights, but only if you deny who you are to make me comfortable. How exactly does that work? And, in context of what you're trying to do today, I think, we've seen a lot of things this year about people, politicians, which is, politicians are definitively liars. A lot of double speak and flitting back and forth, flip-flopping.
Speaking of, because, okay, first of all, when I heard about her statements and how a lot of mainstream media were blogging it as, oh my god, Madam Ezekwesili is pledging her support for the LGBT community. I'm thinking, but she really didn't.
She didn't.
She made the vaguest of remarks on that subject. But then to make that kind of vague remark and then come and do like an about turn to clarify your vague remarks as indeed you being saying something like, the point is, I don't even understand how you can be, first of all, to start distinguishing between constitutional rights and LGBT rights. That was just like, and I'm thinking, and you want to be a president. On top of everything else, you're saying as a person anchored with Christian beliefs and blah blah blah, and
whatever
you want to be a president of a country that is not Christian, that is like
a secular state.
And you're pledging.
Why are you not running to be the Pope? That's something we can get behind.
And this is very funny because this year has been, in many ways, I'm grateful for how in the past 4 years the topic of the LGBT people has been very foremost and right out there, and it became very significant this year when it became a topic that was being posed to all these politicians. And it's quite funny to see how they all keep doing this flip-flop, like Donald Duke coming up and saying, saying as little as he did, but basically implying that there will be
and I take back everything I said on that episode because we talked about this. I think that I was a bit hopeful then. How naive of me.
Yeah. But no, that name bet is permitted because that's really the first time that
Yes,
it's a
actually.
topic that's come up with politician, and for them to be so bold.
Yeah.
It was I also sort of believed him, and it came as a bit of a shock when he recanted his statement.
Yeah.
But even in spite of that, there's been a recent, I think last week or so, this a guy on Twitter who claims to be a Nigerian politician, Andy
Oboforibo.
Yes, and he created like a Twitter storm online where he was saying things that were very fantastic. I mean, for
In tweets.
but still, he doesn't believe
I'm
in
a bit cynical about it. Like, it's not that I don't believe him, but I mean, I was seeing a lot of the retweets and oh my god, this kind of thing we need. I am where I am right now as a person. I'm not ready to give anybody accolades for being a decent human being. Right? It's like what he's doing. It's good. It's good, but it's what is expected of every decent human being. What is expected of every decent politician. So
It's like
I'm wary of
I think it's like saying stop congratulating governors for building roads.
Exactly. Like, you should. And I think the thing to take from all of this is people now realize, and this is one thing I say a lot of the time, like people, this is one of the reasons why visibility is important, because politicians are beginning to engage with the LGBT community as a demographic, which has never happened before in any of our election cycles. So it's an important step. There's been a lot of leaps and bounds, and that's great. And in the new year, I think we should be really wary of double speak. We should listen not only to what politicians and just everybody in general says. We shouldn't listen to only what they say, but also what they don't say, because I mean, a lot of these politicians tend to have multiple tongues.
We have had this year a very visible year for the LGBT community in terms of representation in the media. We've had two films that that really, first of all was Rafiki from Kenya, and that was an entire thing on its own. A movie that was banned from showing in some country, but then in a swift turn of events, a judge let it be shown for 7 days, so that it could qualify to show on the to be nominated in the Academy Awards.
And then in box office
in just 1 week, it became one of the highest grossing films in Kenya, which speaks a lot about.
Was it one of the highest or the highest? Because I think that
it was the second highest.
Oh, the first one doesn't count.
which says a lot about the place where Kenya is as a country.
Yes.
For them to, and then there's also the production from Tears.
Yeah,
We Don't Live Here Anymore. A movie that was very much did a much better storytelling of the struggles of the LGBT than
all the others. Let's even get me started.
And it was bold. It was vulnerable. There was a lot of message in it, and
I'm void of the heterosexual gaze. That was the most important thing about it for me. Like, it was void of the heterosexual gaze. Right?
Yes. It just went straight there, and I think in recognition of the fact of the good work that the director did and the good storytelling that was told in the movie, it was an award-winning film.
Yes, I think
well.
about 2, 3.
About 3 or 4.
Yeah,
I think,
BON Awards.
So that is two movies in 2018. That's something.
That's a lot.
Because we're thinking 2019. Can we have like 4, 5, 6?
A serial that is not. Okay, I'm not going to go back that.
But can we just keep moving up and up? More movies from African nations that would like you to believe that the LGBT people are not humans. Can we have more representation that humanizes the community and shows this as more than statistics and as human beings? Because I'll never forget the feeling I felt when I was watching Rafiki, and then I was watching We Don't Live Here Anymore, and to see to see such humanization, it was something very, very compelling. And I'd like to have those feelings again when seeing more of these films
So
next time.
writers, script writers, poets,
Yes.
get to work.
Yes, please.
The revolution is going to be televised.
And the whole idea, I think these two movies have proven that the whole concept of, oh, if we make an LGBT film, it is not going to go well with it, it's not going to be like a viewership. People are not going to want to see it. It has proven that
Yeah,
to be
it's
very
a very
false.
fancy beauty moment, and we are glad for it. Still on visibility, the other side, the not so good part. There was debate on Twitter, you know, a while ago, about mixed orientation marriages, specifically instances where gay men marry heterosexual women, without their knowledge, and the blowback that comes from that. And it was really interesting. First of all, it's interesting that these conversations are happening. It's really important that they are happening, in public space, in public forums, all of that. But there was a lot of, for me, I think this was a subject on which we kind of disagreed,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So my
I mean, it was one of the first. This topic was one of the first episodes with issues that we touched in our LS episode.
actually, yes.
When that whole Twitter thread blew up about a lady who
Jerome Martin or something.
got married to a man and then found out that her husband and her father were sleeping together. And I remember we kind of we had a little differing opinions there, and but yeah, it's still continuous.
Yes, there was a bit of debate, and a lot of gay men were really defensive, and there was this general rhetoric of heterosexual women, contribute to homophobia and blah 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 blah. And if they don't show up and show out, and if they don't denounce homophobia and stand up for gay men, then they get what they get. That sort of thing. And to me, it was ridiculous, incredibly ridiculous, because, largely I didn't think, and it's interesting that when we have these conversations, we are not focused on instances where lesbians marry straight men, because this is a power thing. And the way that I'm saying, this isn't, for me, and I stand to be correct, this isn't so much about homophobia as it is about misogyny. Because listen, a woman marries a man, right, heterosexual or gay or bi or whatever. If the marriage should crumble, if there's any problem, the person who is more likely, very, very likely to bear the brunt of everything is the woman, regardless of whether she's married to a gay man or a straight man. Now, there was a lot of stuff about the society forces everybody. My stance is like, for me, one thing I go into trying to understand every situation is that oppressions, all forms of oppression, are mutually reinforcing. You cannot, in trying to counter homophobia, hold up misogyny. It doesn't work that way. So it's my opinion that we can talk about this situation, the societal factors that come to play in causing these marriages, while also holding gay men accountable.
Yes.
To the extent of their male privilege and the oppressive ways they can use it against women.
Yes, I well understand. I think most of the sentiments that make it, that sort of put some blame on straight women, comes from this resentment, especially when it's just like a narrative where you see people, marriageable people, parents who come online and spout homophobic nonsense, and you now tell them, well, you just wish somebody like you would have a gay child, and then, or when a gay person sees his parents vomiting homophobic stuff, and he says it's ironic that you're doing this and you have a gay child. I think that it comes from a place of resentment, especially when you come online and you see mostly straight women banding, pushing the homophobia, and you'd be like, do you get what you're helping along? I don't think the people who are placing the blame on the women are sort of are being, yes, there's some misogyny to it, but I don't think that is what they are focused. I don't think they are intentionally pushing the most misogynistic angle. They're just trying to point out the irony of women being in a position where they are talking about joining a movement that slams gay men and talks about horrible things about gay men, and then you just forget that these men are possibly the people who you will end up with if you do not encourage, if you are not part of a voice that encourages society to let people just be. I think that voice is coming from a place of resentment, resenting the women who join the wheel of homophobia. And I don't know about this, but I also use the same brush to tar lesbians who get married to men.
You can't.
I use the same. I tar them with the same brush because when I see straight men who pontificate and do things say homophobic things, I also think about the fact that tomorrow you end up getting married to a lesbian, because I've heard one of two stories.
But the
of
power
men who
dynamics
were
in those
devastated.
marriages will not be the same.
Huh?
The power dynamics between
It's
not the same.
it's not necessarily the same. No,
It's not the
but
same.
Yes, I know, I get that. But the point is, there is still a sense of betrayal, a sense of how you have lived a lie with someone, and then you ask yourself, what could you have done to prevent it? How could you have contributed to prevent that lie from happening? And it comes down to being a part of a voice that encourages people to live free.
Two things though, like first of all, you don't have to want to intentionally be misogynistic to do or say misogynistic
I
things. In the
get
same
that.
way it
I
applies
get
to
that.
racism, And what I'm thinking is, when it comes to enforceability of homophobia, right? It's mostly men. It's there's a majority of men in the Senate that passed the bill. It was a male president who is mostly.
I disagree.
Let me just finish. Because of access to power, men are very more likely to be in the place of enforcing homophobia.
Yeah,
so why don't we carry the same energy in addressing the men?
Yeah, I get that, and I get. But see, the flaw there is, it is the same power dynamics, the same access to power that makes it seem like it is mostly men. But women are just as culpable in this as men. I have heard stories of the horrible things women who are homophobic women equally do. It just feels like it is mostly men because it is men who are right, who are more in numbers, who have more access to, making things change.
And that is not important in the
No,
larger
it
scheme
is
of
important,
things.
and the point I'm trying to make is, it is very disingenuous to say it is mostly men who push homophobia. It is equal. Women,
Which is
are
what I'm
just as
saying.
equally culpable.
But I'm not saying it's mostly men who push it. I'm saying it's, when it comes to enforcement of homophobia, it's mostly men who do it. And to be clear, it's not just heterosexual men, right?
Yeah, I get.
It's not just
It's
heterosexual
cause-
men. And which is one of the reasons why that debate was one of the reasons why I try to avoid saying internal homophobia right now, because there seems to be this sense in which people sort of think that internalized homophobia is, the house cat to homophobia's wild animal.
No,
And I don't get
it's
that, because
equally as dangerous now.
It's equally dangerous.
Yes.
So there are always instances of gay men setting up other gay men, raping, all of that. So we need, the entire conversation has been, it's almost like there's a lot of cognitive dissonance. There's this, okay, I choose to see what I want to see. There was this Hannah Gatsby's speech at, I think it was Women in Film or Women Disney Guild Award or something, before one of these awards, and it was really interesting. And immediately I watched that, I came back to this whole debate about stuff. She said, basically, I'm going to paraphrase everything she said. She was talking about the whole Me Too movement and how a lot of the men on television now, because I'm talking about the bad men and all of that, and distinguishing themselves as good men from the bad men who do this stuff. But the problem is that the people who get to draw that line in sand are the good men, have always been the good men, right? So underlying sign shifts and changes when it's their friends. When it's so the people who when like my point is if straight women who are in these situations are saying this is terrible for us, why? How hard is it to believe them?
No, I don't think it's. I don't think we don't. I don't think people who come against them do not believe them. I just think people say people. I don't think people do not believe them. I think people point out, well, it could have been. It may not have been your lot. If especially if this is a woman. If a woman comes up has been known to have a history of making homophobic remarks or pushing homophobia, and then tomorrow she comes out to say, "Oh my God, I've just found out that my husband is gay." It's hard to empathize with her.
And
You want to
when
tell her,
and when
"Well,
it's
you
an
could have."
instance where she is not known for making homophobic remarks, what then happens?
The point I'm trying to make here.
That line in the sand is what we're talking about now.
Yeah, see, no, okay, if she's a, yeah, but we are all, it's a humanity thing. We empathize more with somebody who like, if tomorrow, if a good friend of mine comes out tomorrow now and starts to say that she's just found out her husband is gay, I would feel for her. I would empathize with her. I would be more judgmental of, or more pursuant of angst against the husband, you know. But then
Because
because
it
that
hits
because
close to home.
essentially we are thinking, oh, she's a good person, she doesn't deserve this. But if somebody, that's beside the point. Here is, generally speaking, I don't think the argument that straight women deserve what they get by, marrying gay men, I don't think it hinges on silencing them or not.
Oh, I thought you were going to say
not believing in what's in their narratives. I just think it's a way of pointing out, but we can do better. You can join us and do better. If we do better, maybe these things will not happen.
Why don't you hold the same energy with men to tell them to do
I don't
better?
know about maybe
That is the point.
Maybe when the conversation about straight men marrying lesbians comes up, I don't know.
It will not come up because the power dynamics are not the same.
Maybe we should
At
make
the
that
heart
come up.
of this, that's what I'm saying. At the heart of this, it's mostly sexism and misogyny, because in marriages, and typically marriages are not designed around the needs of men, and all of that. So typically, in these marriages, okay, there's been instances. Remember that woman who came on Lila Kijal saying some stuff about her husband, their child, and blah blah blah. But anyways, this conversation is dragging too long. Me personally, my stance, I've made it clear already. I just feel like at the heart of this is misogyny, and like you said, this is a humanity thing, but humanity evolves. Like, the more you know, the way you approach issues, a lot of times is based on the information you have. So with more information, you are supposed to be able to make better choices. Your humanity is evolving. So yes, it's but it's humanity and stuff. People are reacting emotionally and they blah 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 blah.
But we shouldn't forget to hold every people accountable.
Yeah.
Yes. Speaking about accountability, another development in this past year was from Grindr when they introduced their Kinda initiative. This is something that mostly the gay community would understand. It was an initiative where they tried to curb the sexual racism and all the discrimination that goes on in the hookup app, where people say and interact in ways that hurt those that they feel are not up to their standard of interaction.
And then put it down to it's my preference.
Saying hurtful, mean things. Generally making a hooking up experience of some people distasteful. And so yeah, I think I've had some conversations with some friends who were like, really like, what, that's a very useless initiative. It doesn't make sense. It comes into the question of, like, if you don't like what you don't like, you are free to say that you don't like what you don't like, and whoever it is should get a life and move on.
But why is it hard? Like, if you state specifically what you like, How difficult is that?
Yeah,
If
instead
you
of as
say
opposed to saying
exactly,
what you don't
and yes,
like.
this whole idea of it's my we've talked about this already, but
Yes, we have.
it's my preference. Your preference doesn't come to you in a vacuum. There are societal factors and stuff. So, anyway, this is one of those things. It's not. Bobrisky. Still talking about visibility. That is okay. I don't want to have too much of this, but the whole flip flopping thing. Today I'm a man, tomorrow I'm a woman, and blah.
Let's
blah,
just
blah,
run.
blah, blah.
Let's just do a rundown of this.
It's exhausting.
Bobrisky is someone who has done, I would a lot by way of creating visibility for the community that is not that is diverse. Let me not say the LGBT community. because,
Incidentally, not
and-
exactly intentionally. He's
yeah,
doing a lot.
he's just
not-
doing what he's doing, living
yeah.
his life, and intentionally creating visibility and awareness, and that's a good thing. It's just I remember when earlier this year when I was having whenever I wanted to talk about him or her, I would use they because I wasn't sure of how to. I like to be respectful about the way people want about addressing people, and then she and I'm using she now because
He has said it.
no, I'm using she because at this period she suddenly comes online and says, well, she's a girl, and put a stop on a pin on that addressing me as a guy and all that and she's a girl. And it was like, hey, a lot of people were like, yes, take that, you homophobes, this is what she's about and blah 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 and all that. And then tomorrow, the next day, or whatever, she comes up and says, oh, but that was just for fun. That he's actually a he.
Which
and
is
has a
dangerous,
girlfriend, and
which is
this all
fucking
for
dangerous.
fun and all for play. And it just and when I understand that he didn't ask to be representative of anyone, it's just very problematic if you are playing around with identities that is a serious thing for some people. And that's where I was trying. That's what I was trying. When this conversation came up between me and some friends, I was trying to impress on them that this isn't about hating on Bobrisky. This isn't, as Nigerians are very quick to point out when you have a different opinion about someone. This isn't about rubbishing him or saying he doesn't contribute or whatever. This is about understanding how serious what you are messing around with is for some people. This is an identity for some people. If it is something that is about him being a joker or fooling around or just just for the heck of it, just to acquire fame, state it, be very clear on that, so that when people don't come to me and start addressing you as a she and then you say, oh yes, I'm a girl, yes. No, like be very clear. I mean, heck, the internet is full of comedians now who are all cross-dressing and trying to drum up fame for themselves by tapping into this whole
I was-
alternative identity thing. And that's fine, I suppose, but do not the transgender identity is a real thing, and it's not something, it's a very real thing, and it's still in that place where it's still developing. So acting like it is something you're not decided about, it's creating more confusion for those who are actually serious about their identity, their transgender identity, and that's the problem here.
Yeah, because I was in a conversation with a couple of people a couple of weeks ago, and this came up, and the general sentiment was, it's visibility, however it is, it's fine. I'm like, no, like not all visibility. This whole stuff about any publicity is no. We are talking about people's lives now, so any publicity is not good publicity. If you make it as though, this thing for you is costuming, something you just. These are people's identities. Like people have their entire lives hinged on this, right? And it's just, I can flit in and out of it whenever I want. It's not a serious thing. It's play acting.
I mean, exactly. That's what I think an exception to, because basically this is something that people are still trying to understand, and more even in understanding it, some are making a mockery out of it, and then you reinforce the notion that it is play, child's play.
Yeah.
What you're doing, don't worry, tomorrow you are still a boy, you're a boy, you're still a girl, you're a girl. All that thing is just, you're just fooling around. And it reinforces the moving in and out, it reinforces that misunderstanding. And it's not like it's not the identity that already has a foothold in like the gay the homosexual identity from gay men and from lesbians. No, it doesn't have that foothold. It's still new, and a lot of people are still struggling with
it's not so
people
much that
who
it's
hey,
new.
people that as at last year, 2 years ago, I know of a friend who said some things about how there are no transgenders in Nigeria, and I'm asking him, why do you say that? He said because, well, he doesn't know of anyone who has done the surgery, and this is what the prevalent understanding of it, that for you to be a transgender you must have done the surgery first, but that is not what it is, you know. So making it seem like you're not sure about what you are, and then projecting an seriousness about it, it doesn't help with understanding what it means to be a transgender
So
person.
not all publicity is, there is bad publicity in this case. Not all visibility is good. This is an example of bad visibility.
Well, and speaking about the folly of our governments, much earlier this year, Benue State saw fit to, I think, as part of their political strategy to confuse Nigerians the way they always do whenever it's coming, the elections are coming
Nigerians are
around.
catching on.
They decided to, as if the
Herdsmen
anti-SSNPA
killings.
law that Jonathan signed wasn't resonant enough. They decided to let us understand that,
They had to
we
localize
we
it.
can still add a little bit of more, just.
And I think they didn't have bigger. Like, I don't even know.
I mean,
This shouldn't even be on the menu.
This
to start
is
with. I
the
think they
hub
didn't
of
have.
all these killings.
Yeah, I
tribal
think they didn't
killings.
have. Like, they just suffered flooding a couple of years ago. They are still recovering from that. There's the herdsmen killings, all of those things. Like, but with all of these problems that they had nothing better to spend their time. The state legislature had nothing better to do with their time than
To sit and deliberate
Yes.
about who's getting married and who's not,
And who's not
how
getting married.
You're enforcing, like, as if the citizens of the state have time to even think about that. Like, even if they did, they would have time to celebrate. I mean, heck, the federal law already criminalizes it. What's the state law trying to achieve here? What is actually good for Nigerians is trying to resolve all the tribal killings that are going on in the state,
security.
enforcing security, safety of the individuals who live and are from the state, and the flooding and all that, looking for a way to ensure the life
Doesn't happen again.
security, it stays intact. That is what the government. That's the work that they should be doing. That would impress Nigerians. But tried and not so true. The whole let's confuse Nigerians with the issue about LGBT people. I don't know why they haven't still learned from the fact that it didn't work for Jonathan, and somehow maybe it will work for them now. I don't get it. And it's the same confusion that bears into play in Ghana recently. I mean, this year has been Ghana has been all about a lot of homophobic outrage. Following the remarks that their presidents made that implied that there might be LGBT equality might be imminent, for the country if the right people make the right amount of noise. And as a backlash, the Ghanaian, from politicians to religious leaders to even
Professors.
educational, officers,
Discuss
professors,
it.
everybody had something to say, and all basically telling the president to not, entertain, not encourage such an achievement of equality in the country. And recently the news made the rounds about how about 100 gay men and women had signed up to go to a camp for
Concentration
rehabilitation.
camp.
And it just, this thing, the fact that we still live in an era when the idea that rehabilitation is something, an achievable result for being gay,
Ridiculous.
is still being pushed. It's just funny because, I mean, I don't understand how we take it to mean that there's anybody in Africa, any person who in Nigeria, in Ghana, in any African country, who would see how volatile and how against homosexuality that the African nations are, and still go ahead and you know what? I think I'm just going to click
It's
subscribe on
befuddling
video.
the utter lack of empathy that people have in these instances. Like, if it's not something you will choose, why the heck do you assume somebody else will choose it?
There's lynching, there's possible death, there's disposition of property, of
Loss of opportunity.
of economic disadvantage. These are all the things that potentially dog the life of an existence of a homosexual individual, and yet somehow you think it's something they would choose. It's just unreasonable, and it comes from a place of um, or the whole ridiculousness of homophobia, that homophobia doesn't permit people to think, to really delve in deep, to understand these complexities that come with being human.
Speaking of ridiculousness, there have been a lot of arrests in Nigeria this year. One of the arrests that had the most, caused the most ruckus on was the one of 57 men, I think, at Egbeda. 57 guys who were at a party, and then the policemen raided and arrested them and all of that. And the crazy thing is, while they were being paraded, which clearly is wrong. I mean, people are presumed innocent. People who are suspected of a crime are presumed innocent until proven guilty, right? But these people were paraded in front of cameras, as has been the case several times, which it's an astonishing thing that we have normalized this, and then the press men even contribute to this. People who should know better contribute to this, and I think it speaks to the ineptitude of the Nigerian police force, that they have to resort to these measures, not to pretend like they are doing something, that they are doing more than harassing innocent individuals. And while this was happening, a young man, was vocal, was bold enough to speak up, but rather than people hinge on the fact that this person knew his rights. Like, you didn't catch me doing anything. He was protesting to what was going on. Rather than that, the fact that he wasn't, his grammar wasn't fluent was weaponized, and it was made a joke. Entertainment fodder online, generated memes and all that. They didn't cut me.
Funny, like everybody was everywhere making, channeling the "you didn't cut me" trend, and it was incredibly saddening that nobody took the time to pause and think about how this was a protestation of the violation
and
of human
place emphasis
rights.
where it was supposed to be. The policemen had no right. They had no business whatsoever parading this in front of the camera, because
It even goes for the bad. It goes for the bad. Some reporters, did investigated and realized that it was not just some gay conversion party that, like, the police would like you to believe. It was a normal birthday party that had both guys and girls. And when the police raided the place and saw that there were girls there who would rubbish the narrative that they intended to sell, they dismissed the girls and let the guys go, and rounded up the guys. So it goes even further back than parading the guys in front. Like, we did not ask these questions, and it's not like they were hidden. There were reports. These reports were made. We did not dwell on them. Instead, we let ourselves get distracted by the guys' faulty grammar and how it seemed so funny, and then everybody was laughing at it. And we like to believe, we keep protesting about how the government does not recognize the rights of the human beings of the Nigerians, and how the police brutalize our rights, and yet we are also culpable in the fact, in that sadness of disregarding our rights, or not querying our rights well enough, or not increasing the voice of those who are brave enough to protest their rights.
Yes, something that I'll start for me, because about that situation for me was that it underlined the fact that to have people pay attention, we are so caught up in a lot of elitist and classist ideas that for us to pay attention, it has to be presented in a certain way. You have to have a certain kind of diction, a certain kind of courage, which is really a dangerous thing, because it's not only that it leaves out a lot of narratives, it also creates a sort of environment where we are moving forward and leaving a lot of people behind. Because I saw you'd see people who should know better, even people within the LGBT community, sharing these memes and making a joke of it, and it's like, what exactly is going through your mind right now if you cannot, empathize with this person?
During that same period when it was all raging, the arrest was raging, the guy who would like to call himself the civil rights activist, who goes by the name Shegun Awosanya or something like that, and the things, the idiocy he displayed, the hypocrisy he displayed. This is someone who has been very known for being loud and outspoken about police harassment, about police brutality, and then suddenly when the LGBT community became
The police
the
becomes
ones who
the
were
harassed.
harassed, he suddenly changed. His tune now changed. It was suddenly about, oh, please let us follow the order of things. Let us wait for the and somehow even ascribing power to the community that it doesn't even have over the police. It also just so ridiculous.
I'm not even going to date
So it's whenever it's come to much understanding that whenever we tend to have this consciousness of the way life should be for the average Nigerian. But the moment you inject the LGBT narrative into that conversation, suddenly you see people that dancing and
the moment
retracting and recanting.
The moment that you make it clear that the average Nigerian there are some average Nigerians who aren't heterosexual, the conversation changes, which is just it. But moving on from that hot mess to good news, Pamela D.
She you would wonder why. I mean, it was, she had a recent also with the CAC
Corporate Affairs Commission
in court, and the Federal High Court ruled against her. You might wonder why we're calling that good news, but it is
good news.
Indicative of
it's
something.
It's put into relief the neurosis of homophobia, because she was trying to incorporate an association rights. And this association had a lot of objectives, to help lesbians who are victims of domestic abuse, women, lesbians who are generally having a hard time, to have them in multiple ways. But then just because in the intended name for the association there was the tag lesbian, it was like, no way we are considering this, no way we're letting this happen. And it's just crazy, because what the Federal High Court basically said is, regardless of what your objectives are, regardless of what your intentions are,
however noble they
may be, we cannot have a conversation so long as you are and or you represent LGBT individuals. It's crazy. Just let that sink in for a moment. How crazy that idea is.
Without regard.
Exactly. For basically, no matter what you want to do, no matter how noble your intentions are, no matter what you can achieve, the amount of people you can help
reach,
we don't care, so long as the time
your front row, you're starting out with representing the LGBT. This just comes down to, because this thing, had it went through, there is no saying the reach that Adia would have achieved with it. The amount, I'm pretty sure it starts out with lesbian women, and it could, and branch out and embrace women, challenge women who are experiencing challenges in different aspects of their lives, and somehow you shut that down. You shut down what is essentially a very good.
But even if it were only intended for lesbians are women.
Yeah, no. The point I'm trying to make is the homophobia is something that trickles down beyond the community and affects everyone else, and it comes down to that misorientation subject we were talking about earlier on. We're not talking about who's to blame or who's not to blame right now, but the point is, you can see how ugly it is enough to reach out beyond it. It is not something that is centered. It is not a disadvantage that is centered on the LGBT community. It's something that reaches out and touches on different people, on the lives of different people. It destroys marriages. It creates distrust between families. It destroys families. It's destructive. That's the point. It's a destroyer of relationship. And
Homophobia
for
is
what?
destructive.
Just so that we can, like, it doesn't even there's no advantage to it. That's the point.
Yeah.
It's not something that is, we are looking at the profits, so let us disregard the disadvantage. It's
Yeah,
not even
profits.
profitable to anyone
Anybody.
that you would seek to subjugate someone else simply because of who he or she is attracted to.
But yeah, it's been an interesting year so far, and I'm looking forward to
Because
next
that is
year.
the way we're signing off 2018 with this fight for equality. We are hoping, well, by 2019, much more audacious moves to push the LGBT equality.
We shall queer better in 2019. Hashtag queer better. We are totally making videos about that.
We shall be querying better in 2019. But yeah, because the whole point of the show, the aim of this show is for it to lose relevance based on the fact that we don't have more to talk about, because the society is already observing all these mistakes it's making and correcting.
And also because this doesn't pay.
Let no, we don't mind him. Well, hey, if there's any sponsor around there,
Yes.
it was already. But yeah, that's we hope to queer better in 2019, and we're signing off in 2018 with this. My name is Walter.
And I'm Dozie. See ya.